It's a snow day. I'm cold.
Ooh, quite the snow day we had. I wonder if our adventure was as awesome as what happened in that movie called Snow Day.
Anything can happen on a snow day.
It's true. Boy, it's so cold in here. There's a lot of people in here whose nipples could just cut glass. Anyway, on with the review. How y'all doing? Snow Day, released February 11th, 2000. Directed by Chris Koch. Writers Will McRobb and Chris Viscardi. Now, the first thing I thought of... See if you can see me a little... So cold. I used to like the Nickelodeon movies. I was there to watch Harriet the Spy for the first time. Good Burger. Good Burger's the best one. And then the Rugrats movies and so that. Then Snow Day. 2000, I was at an age where I'm like, I don't want to watch these. These are stupid and lame. So I had no interest. It looked weird and goofy. Now I'm kind of into all that quirky, weird, goofy stuff. Even though at the time I liked Pete and Pete. And this made me think of Pete and Pete. And, it's like it starts off with their narration for the main character. It's this young kid, teen kid. And he's narrating. And then you're seeing, and then a snow falling. And it just has that whimsical music playing in there. Like it's magical. And I'm like, boy, this gives me a Pete and Pete vibe. Just him narrating. It's like hearing Big Pete narrate. And then it makes sense because, as I mentioned, the director and the writers for this created Pete and Pete on Nickelodeon. So it's like, well, no wonder. And then they have a nice history of things. Will and Chris were both the creators of Pete and Pete. And then what's interesting is Chris Koch directed some episodes of Pete and Pete, and then he also directed episodes of Cousin Skeeter, Woo-wah! Kablam! Malcolm in the Middle, My Name is Earl, Scrubs, Better Off Ted, and Raising Hope. All have some kind of similarity to their storytelling and quirkiness to them. And why do I feel like I'm some kind of big monster? But I was like, okay, that makes sense. I like all those shows. Those are good shows. And it seemed to be fitting that they would all kind of take place in this, and it adds to it. Especially the stuff that seems very Kablam-ish with Action League Now, the one with the toys that move, with their little chuckamation, they called it. That was in this movie, so I'm like, well, of course all that makes sense. But, I don't know, here it is, 22 years later, and I didn't think it was too bad. It was entertaining enough. It was just a dumb, silly movie.
I didn't grow up with Nickelodeon, but I'm
sad.
Yeah, I was deprived. But I've been getting into it, and boy, I feel like I really missed out. And
so he became a big fan of Pete and Pete. It was one of the best. It's quirky. It's just I like that slice of life stuff. Okay, it's getting a little hot in there. Let's open this up just a little bit. I mean, cold. It's cold. You can see my breath. I'm roasting fires over Elsa's nipples. Anyway, how does that even make sense? We were making the joke earlier about stuff. Anyway, remember. We're trying to keep this PG here. My chestnut's roasting on her open fire. Anyway! There. See, now that's done with. Now back to the kid-friendly stuff. P and Pete's such a good show. And I love the whole, made me think of that. It's a thing we call slice of life. People who like anime, well, there's a genre that's called slice of life, but I feel like that's not just in, people use that a lot for anime terms, because it's a genre, slice of life, but slice of life is basically Pete and Pete, stuff like that. Any of those shows there?
Explains it all.
Clarissa, cartoons. We've had cartoons like that. We have Doug. You have Hey Arnold. Those are basically just the lives of characters. It's nothing exciting, but it's good. It's usually evolved around the characters and their lives. So anyway, the main characters was the Branston family. You had Hal. He was the main kid. And he basically, it's a snow day. Anything can happen. I never heard of such a thing, though. Okay, enough of that. Oh my gosh, I feel like my hair's all sweaty and messed up. Thank you there, ma'am. Alright, putting the hat back on for this. It's not as bad as a hood. I don't know what it is, but... And he likes this girl, and it's a snow day. Today's the day where I'm going to go with the girl, and we're going to fall in love. And I'm like, because it was snow day? It seemed weird, this magical... it's a snow day. Anything can happen type of stuff there, which I get is kind of neat. So I like that. It has that little magicalness to it.
It makes me think of when people are like, "Oh, it's leap
Day and all that. Anything can happen on leap day." One of my favorite episodes of Frasier when he tells everyone to take a leap and all sorts of hilarity ensues. But I just think it's, like, okay, so he's like, I'm just going to make it a snow day, girl. How you doing? Oh, yes. But he likes a girl, her name is, I'm like, Claire. I'm like, what else was the name? So Hal, every time I think of Hal, I think of Malcolm in the Middle.
Well, yeah.
So anyway, or I guess Hal was the one in Space Odyssey too, right?
It was.
Hello there. So it's like, boy, we're all over the place right now already. Thanks for watching, by the way, if you're made it this far, of us rambling about Snow Day from 2000 Nickelodeon films and Paramount Pictures. But, so it likes Claire. She's this young girl, the one that every guy likes, and there's literally a freaking scene when he goes over to her house to go see her, and then, like, every freaking guy in town, like, every teen, every young boy, even probably some older guys, maybe, like, there was just four people, we love you, oh, and I'm like, holy crap. Well, I love it. It's so cartoony.
Even his friend that's a guy was hitting on her too. He's like,
what? And it's just, oh my gosh, and she's there. And again, by the way, what was this, a PG film? You could tell it was a snow day there. It was cold because there's a lot of scenes where you could tell she was cold. And I'm like, I was like, was this like, obviously like, no, keep rolling. And like, did they know when they were filming that, she was throughout most of her scenes? I'm like, interesting. Research. Do more research. But it was like, oh my gosh. So I'm like, at least we know it was cold. They did a better job of portraying cold through her, Pokey, than we are doing this because it's not working anymore. Holy crap. But I was like, oh, they're all jumping at her. And then she has her boyfriend who's who's like such a douche.
Well, yeah.
Oh, come on, we're the power couple. Blah, blah. And he's like, and I love the whole thing where it's like, well, what's my favorite color? What color are my eyes? What color is this? What's my favorite this? Ooh! And the typical stuff like that. And I love how they have the thing with the animals, because she has an ankle bracelet with a whale on it. It was a whale, right? And he's like super like obsessive with her, like, boy!
Story
because she dives, she does swimming, and he just sits there and watches and admires her because she's a goddess beauty to him. Which is how it is when he had those crushes back in those days. And she dives in, and he falls, and then when he knows, like, hey, her bracelet. I mean, he was like they show a close-up, he's like, yeah, he knows the bracelet's there. It's like, well, he's really fixated on all of her. And he falls in the water and picks it up, and he keeps it. And I'm like, okay, because he's thinking, if I can use this to return to her and have her like me.
Yeah.
And then there's weird stuff where he's trying it on, and his sister comes in. It's like, what the hell? And then, so there's that too. So he has the family is all there. So you have his sister, his dad, played by Chevy Chase. And I'm like, that was pretty neat. He did a good job in this. I thought it was pretty funny. Just this, he didn't seem like he really phoned in anything. He seemed like he was just okay with this stupid Nickelodeon family comedy film, playing a weatherman. And the sister goes and tells him, like, Dad, it's like, what was it where, should a young man at his age be wearing so it's like, oh, you know how kids are. And says, yeah, but should he be wearing an ankle bracelet? He's wearing a what now? And he's like, So it was pretty funny. And then the little sister, she was entertaining throughout this. Yeah. Let's see, her name was Natalie.
She kind of reminded me of a troublemaker, like Pete's younger brother. Kind of, you know what I'm saying?
So see, again, yet again they have that. And then Jean Smart was playing the mom, and she's the typical Angelica's mom from Rugrats, where it's like, blah, 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 blah. Merry Christmas, everyone. Listen here, everything is work and business, and that's where that part comes in. So everyone's lives are affected on this snow day. He's going to go for the girl of his dreams. The dad is the weatherman, and he's getting ousted by the snooty weatherman, Chad Simmons. And he's like, but he knows nothing of it, but he's just, I'm the pretty boy here. And he's like an actual like meteorologist, and he knows about this stuff there. And So it's clash between that and him getting tired of having to dress up like a snowman or dress up in a hula outfit or some kind of stuff to do the weather. It's like, I just want serious weather, not this. Well, if we get his ratings, then it's like, but it's like, I get it, but it still sucks because you want to just do the job and not do stupid crap like that.
Well, yeah.
And Pam Grier was his boss, so that was an interesting thing in here. And it was interesting with him. The mom, business work, she can't go anywhere because they're snowed in, so she can't drive to work, so she has to stay at home watching their youngest son, and he is like, holy shit, he's all over the place. Sitting there in one thing, just in his like freaking underwear, and he's all blue or something in the paint, and it's like, oh, I gotta chase him now. And it's like, wow, hitting his head on the wall. It's like, holy crap, that kid needs to lay off the sugar. But, so you're seeing her interacting with that.
Well, back to her being business-oriented, she can't even get off the phone a little bit just even to have dinner with her family.
Yeah, and they're all just kind of like,
he's like, money.
I will give you, what was it, like $5 or like maybe $1 or something like that, to not answer that, or, I can not answer it. I'm sorry, and it's like, but the sister, what was it, again, Natalie, she has this thing where it's like, I like how they're a team. It's like, but we're supposed to be a team, we need to do this with the brother, and he's like, well, that's okay, you'll be fine today, I'm gonna go get my girl. So she's all upset, she's with her friends, a couple of guys, a couple of boys, and one of them is Josh from Drake and Josh, as a young little kid, and not when he's in Drake and Josh. So I was like, oh yeah, I forgot he was in movies before he became Drake and Josh. That was that Nickelodeon show that was like, first we had Pete and Pete, then we had Keenan and Kel, then we had Drake and Josh, and then that's when I was done with everything, because I thought that show was pretty neat. And so it was cool seeing him in there. He was goofy, and they had like a little snow fort lair.
Yeah, that was really cool.
That was amazing. They could slide into it, and they had like video game systems, all this shit in them. Like, it seems stupid. Like, realistically, why?
But as a kid,
like, how do you even attach and plug in and have everything?
Well, I think they had a extension cord or something.
But it just seems odd. Like, how would you a secret base? You have to cover that in snow. Like, people would see the trail, and how do you get like the good reception? Just everything. So it's totally amazing. What I loved about it was the absurdness of the fictionalness of it, and again, I like that. Like, the dialogue and the characters were like that quirky zaniness, and then just situations like that was really weird. Speaking of, the most zaniest and oddball of them on would be Snow Plow Man. I mean, it's like we have a villain, and that was played by Chris Elliot, always doing these weird, wacky, fricked up characters. One of my favorite ones is when him and There's Something About Mary, because he's the one where he's all, I always have, hey Mary, and I'm like, oh my gosh, he is nuts. That movie is amazing, by the way. And the one I hate the most from him, though, like, he can do like some characters, but I hate in Scary Movie 2. He's the guy that has the little hand.
This is my strong hand.
Oh, he's all, here, let me scoop that for you. And it's like, oh, frick. I hated that. So there's stuff where he can be like, again, he's always like in this, he has got like the really bad teeth, and he's all, like, I was like, he's always like, plays these gross like characters, and the Mary's got the zits and shit all over his face. But I'm like, I can handle that, but when he was the one in that movie, oh god. I'm like, oh, that was the creepiest, gross out stuff with him character in that movie, and I just, oh boy. So anyway, but he always does a good job at it. He was always something back in those days, like the 90s, 2000s, and stuff like that. But he was pretty cool at Snowplow. I love that. It's like this snow day, yay! And then they're all out there, and all of a sudden, oh no! And it's like, oh my gosh, what's happening? Snowplow Man! And then you get this introduction of this big plow that's like a monstrous thing, kind of like a Ferngully when they have the big machine thing, and it's like this thing that's come alive. It's got a pinup girl on there, Clementine, which is pretty funny. I like that old Clementine, and it's got snowflakes like checked off on the door of his plow, like like when you're in jail and you're doing like the little how many things you're checking off, how many I guess snow days he's destroyed. I'm like, that is cool. And he's just like, woohoo! And he's got a bird, like a big freaking raven or something.
Yeah.
It's a really cool looking bird. He's got like that white on him. She, I think, because it was like a girl's name or whatever. And it's like the only thing he loved, and they're narrating like Snow Plow Man. He's always been this as the brothers narrating, and the only thing he loves more than destroying kids is the bird. And holy shit, like the way they were describing stuff and the way they were showing stuff, it's like, does he like? It's like, wow, it's like he's gonna run over kids and he's like destroying their stuff, and I'm like, does he like? He's like, whoo. I'm like, does he kill kids? It was just weird, like the description of how he was with that.
Oh, yeah. So with them introducing him, they bring up the him being the villain because she wants to finally defeat him and get a second snow day because they never get a second snow day because he plows all the streets.
Exactly, and that's why she wanted to team up with her brother, but he didn't want to. So that's why she's the whole thing there. Plus, I thought it was cool too. Before that, when she got the little weather device in her room to find out when the snow day happens. And he had that cool thing where she's imagining and like the snow's falling in her room. Such movie stuff in there, She has a little snow globe from her dad. And then she falls asleep and it falls down and surprisingly doesn't break. No rosebud action or something. And rolls off there to the shot and then you see outside snow and...
I want to say it's kind of like magic or something, like movie magic there, because she's been
snowflake.
Because her dad's like, oh, it's not gonna snow, and then she's like, but I really wanted the snow day, one more snow day.
And then he finds out like late at night or whatever.
Yeah, right after that.
What's gonna happen? Yeah. And he's like, plenty of snow, everyone. And then the typical stuff that everyone's in, like this, like, and it's a. Oh yeah, all schools are closed, and you see parents like, and the kids like, yeah. And then, speaking of that, the principal guy, he's not in it too often, but I find it very interesting how there's a principal who's like, oh, hi! He's all goofy, played by, you have Principal Weaver. And, like, the whole movie, basically his point is, kids are just pummeling him with snowballs.
Pretty much.
Like, the beginning of it is like, we're not getting no snow here, and he's out in, like, shorts and on the grill. And then, who threw that? And then the little girl, the sister, and her friends are on the roof, like, throwing stuff at him, and then... The whole movie's like, oh, hi, everyone. And he's, like, trying to scrape his car, and then... I'm like, holy crap. It is so amazing. It's one of those things where, when you watch a movie and you see, like, Batman or someone, or any character, and they're like... And they're swinging, it's like, where did they attach that to?
Right.
Spider-Man? Where did he attach that to? It is so like that. So it's like, where are these all coming from? Like, these kids are like, you never see them. You just see... And then him going through the whole movie like that, basically.
Yeah, that's a pretty good running gag.
It was pretty funny.
And I think they spaced it out enough that it doesn't
It wasn't overdone. It wasn't overdone. Where I was like, oh, it could get old. But it wasn't. It was pretty entertaining. We forgot to mention another character here. So the main guy, Hal, he likes Claire. But he has a chum, a best friend type of girl next door. His school friend, whatever you call it. And her name is Lane. And, she's like, redhead, very, like, nerdy and stuff like that. And she's all like, oh, you, and, like, always, like, all over this stuff there. And Snowman! And all that stuff there, and he's all fixated on Claire, and she's like, "Oh, for crying out loud," type attitude. And you can tell where they're going because of how she is like, "Oh, we know how she feels." And when they bring stuff down, like I like the thing where, like she was like always like jump in and then they fall in, like into the snow, and he's talking about the thing with the snow angels. It's like, this is the only thing about snow angels. They can never be perfect because you always have the handprints when you get up. And he's like, yeah, well, not when you have. And he helps her up, and I'm like, that's gonna come back. But at the same time, that's a very nicely written thing. I liked it.
Oh, it's really sweet.
There's a really good written stuff in there, and I like the dynamic with her. It's it's the typical thing, but it works very well, So she likes him, and then eventually she says it. But it's a snow day, right? And she gives him a kiss, and then you idiot type of thing, and then walks off, and because he's all still fixated on her. Well, we're kind of jumping around.
Why?
Because again, it's easier because you're going through all the characters.
Well, yeah.
And you're kind of going their arc. So you got that, and she was a good character. I like when she's trying to like talk to Claire, and she's with her group of friends,
and tell him how good of a guy he really is.
She's like, "Oh, you see, he's a sweet." And there's this thing where we had like a little baby chick, and and he brought it back to life, and it's like,
and then she even brings up the snow angel
and stuff like that, and everyone's like, "Girl."
They're like, what the
Like,
hell?
girl, you got bad. But then Claire's like, oh, you sound so sweet. You know, it's like, oh my gosh, now that it's like, it's working.
Well, yeah.
Because you see how sweet of a guy is, and she's like, oh, well, yeah. But then the one guy's like, come back to me, bitch, I'm the jerk. But he's so sweet. And it's like, well, come back to me. And it's like, so she, does it, like, it's wanted, like, obviously give it a chance.
She wants the best things, the best for him. Even though she at the same time she wants to, spend the whole snow day with him, but he's so obsessed with, Claire.
I mean, doing his stuff there, I mean, I can understand, but at the same time, he's also got a nice girl there, too, so it's like, come on, dude, come on. You're missing it. But at the same time, Claire does, especially when he does the one thing when the dad, Chevy Chase's character, is out on the snow hill, doing reports to snowman, and then he falls over, and hilarity ensues, and I like there's a shot where he's going down the hill on the sled, because like, give me a small nudge. I said a small nudge. And he's like going down, and like there's someone who's on there, and he actually like whacks like the kid's going down, and like and the kid goes like flying basically. I'm like, wow, he killed that kid basically. And then he's like, so he gets the Hal. He gets to the front of the camera. He's like, hey there, Claire, it's me. You may not know me, blah blah blah, but I know you. I know this. I know your favorite's this and this. They say so this. Like, it's a snow day, Claire. Anything's possible. Take a chance with me, basically. And it's like, and all people are like, and her, the one guy, but then she's like, and throughout the whole movie, is him still chasing her, kind of maybe, and then his friend, she's telling Claire about all that stuff too, and then there's a thing where he's digging the
whale.
And he's like, it's a whale. Huh?
Your favorite animal.
It's your favorite animal. I like zebras. So even he doesn't know. He's like, then why do you have this?
Because I gave it to her.
Because I did, bitch! And then the jerk boyfriend's back and such a douche. And he's like, remember when we went to go see that, what the hell did he call Shamu? He called it wrong, and it's like shampoo or something. She's like, you mean Shamu? Yeah, well, hey! And then there's the snowmobile stuff there, and then the typical stuff like that, and I like it. There's something, I think, where there's, like, the gang, like, come on, boys, and they're all like this, too, and it's like, hey, this is Steve, and then, like, as soon as you introduce the person, boosh, something happens, here's Phil, and it's like, and then their person gets knocked out, it's like, stop introducing their names, stop saying their names, they're getting killed, every time.
See, the younger sister had the plowman, the ex-boyfriend or boyfriend or whatever you want to call him. That was his villain, because during the movie,
everyone has villains in this movie. It's weird.
They break up, and that's why he's trying to go for her, because they just broke up. So he sees a window of opportunity, but so is everyone else who sees him. But it's mostly focused on him going for her.
Right, and then you get the little snippets of everyone else throughout town, which I like that kind of stuff. I like a lot of movies where you can it's focused on this, but then you get like these other interesting characters throughout,
kind of like
that live in the town and the area, and
kind of like the remake of That Darn Cat.
Even though people disagree with it on a lot of stuff, but I like how it focuses on that. Like a lot of movies like that. Like I don't mind seeing other interesting as long as it makes it interesting and it's not like stupid. Like there's a lot of shows where it's like you don't just focus on like, hey, here's the main character. You like to see the ensemble of people. Like say. Like I mentioned earlier, like Doug or Hey Arnold. You're not just like, hey, I'm only watching because of Doug or Hey Arnold. Hey Arnold. Arnold Short Man. You like all the other classmates and then the adults and everyone else that are involved in this too. So it's not just that, it's about all the other characters too.
Well, yeah, and then they also have like small characters like the person who's running the music at the ice ring.
Iggy Pop. Okay, now that fudge. Iggy Pop. So of all characters, he is. What I also love is Iggy Pop was also the dad of Michelle Trachtenberg. I can't remember her character's name, but she was basically best friends with Little Pete, and she even had made a little fake cast. She had a little cast on her, and then she'd want to draw a little. What the hell's the girl's name that he has on the tattoo on his arm type of thing? And she drew one on there, so they're like really good friends. And her dad was Iggy Pop, and he's rock legend and stuff like that, and his attitude. So it's kind of interesting that he was on that again. All the connections with Pete and Pete are very weird with this movie, and I love it. And it's just the idea that he is like this, here we are there, kids, and here is the little slow waltz for everyone. Da, da, da. It's like, what is this, the 30s? It's like, holy crap, the 30s, the 40s and shit like that, and then for him to be playing that, and then him like, oh, this music nowadays with these kids, I'm like, a lot of people probably think that's like, because I love that thing. There's that Trick or Treat movie with Skippy from Family Ties, and they have Ozzy Osbourne and a thing they're talking about like, this stuff is of the devil. This music is horrible, and I'm like, I understand him more than I do when he's talking otherwise. And I just love that Ozzy Osbourne is this guy talking about how rock and roll is music of the devil. And then you have who he really is, and he's all like, bah! And I'm like, it's funny. So you have him like that too. Oh, these no kids, like, yeah, someone. So they try to get him out of doing this so they can, change stuff up,
music, yeah.
And he can talk and do whatever. And
try to get the girl.
And they're like, hey, someone just wrote so-and-so sucks or something like that on the wall. Somebody's like, damn kids. And he's sitting there scrubbing using the toilet to wipe off the damn kids nowadays. And it's like, I thought it was a cool little, funny little cameo of him. Because it's like, I always enjoy that. It's like, wow, that is not how he should be.
Well,
you know what I'm saying? So it was pretty entertaining with little stuff like that. But again, back to Snow Plow Man. Why are we talking about him? The guy is sadistic.
Yeah.
The guy is nuts. He kidnaps Josh, and then he puts him in. I love when he has him locked up in the car, and it's a creepy scene. Like, that's one of the creepiest scenes where he goes up to the mom of the main characters, the one who's married to Tom, the weatherman, Chevy Chase, and then you have Hal and his sister, and then Randy, the little brother. He's just like, oh, hi. He's like, hey there, ma'am. And it's just kind of like, what the hell? And it's like, your kid needs to come and ride with me in the thing there. And it's type of stuff like that. It's like, and it's just creepy. This guy just comes up and it's like, yeah. So like that. I'd be like, who the hell are you? And you're creepy. Why do you want my daughter? It's like, and it's like, well, you see, oh, is that? It's like, yeah, see, his turn's already over. Now it's her turn. So I'm like, that worked in his favor. So he had that at least. But at the same time, he's like, and of course, he's writing help from his point of view. Like, oh, so I don't know if we messed up, but we talked about this, him laying there, and then whatever happens with that. So she has to go check on her son, and then the phone rings, and he just steps right in, picks up the phone. I'm like,
who do you think you are?
Just answering the phone, and then it was the daughter. Hey there, Snow Plow Man. Blah, blah, blah. Like, they're making their ransom and blackmailing because they got the crow, the raven, the bird.
Yeah, that's why he kidnapped the one kid.
That's why he killed him, and then with that.
Do you remember the scene where he did that, where they're like, oh, well, he'll stop because we'll put him, the kid in the middle of the road and have big blood on him.
It's actually turns out to be funny. It's ridiculous.
Ketchup, and then he happens to be eating fries.
I just love it. He's like dun 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 with this music, and then he's like lying there, ketchup. It looks so bad. It looks like you took like packets of ketchup and just get like little swirls and lines and everything all over it. So it's like, how is that? Who would think that's blood? And he just sits down. He just starts dipping the fries on the blood on the kid lying on the road and eating. I'm like, that was funny. That was pretty entertaining. Oh yeah, and then the different type of snowballs they're doing. So what kind of snowballs you want?
Oh yeah.
They got the ones that are the jelly donut ones that they're filled, and then you have the one with the hole in it, the whole ones, and then you had this one there that was like glowing green, and it's like, you know what that is, or something. I'm like, what the hell? And stuff like that, and it's like, I'm like, a good shot right in the side of the face. But that was interesting, of course. Made me think of, Donald Duck fighting with his nephews, and they have the little cartoons one where they're sitting there fighting with each other, and they both build like little ships of snow. And then Donald's sitting there putting the snowballs in water, and then they ding. They look like freaking little like metal bomb type things there, and then he and like it hurts, and they start doing the same thing to open up, putting mouse traps inside them, and it's like put them on fire, and it's like, holy shit! Like, how can you do that with snow? It's like, that doesn't work like that, but it's funny as hell. So you're like all these contraptions with the snow. But yeah, Snow Plow Man. I like the whole villainous of him. He's goofy, he's weird. Poor Clementine. They put a little mustache and stuff over her. And like, poor her. She didn't do anything. Basically, we can finish off like the mom. She eventually learns, that her son's out there running around in the snow. she loses her phone, and she's like, no, and the kid keeps on throwing. She's like, you stop, I'm gonna. Till eventually she just, decides I don't care anymore, I'm gonna go out there, and she's throwing snowballs at him and running and chasing around having fun. So I'm like, oh, there you go. So it was a sweet little thing. They're like, the mother's finding like, oh, you playing with her kid is what you should be doing.
Well, yeah. The whole time she was just upset trying to get this big deal with Japan or whatever. And
so is Japan.
Yeah, it's true. And then no matter how many things get in her way, she keeps trying and trying. And eventually, as you said, she, like, it's a snow day. I'm just going to spend time with my kid. There's more important things in life.
And then Tom with the weatherman stuff there, he gets his comeuppance with Chad. And of course, they make a big ice sculpture of Chad.
Because everyone in town loves this guy. For whatever reason.
And then he's like, tell him about it, Chad. Who's the one that found out about, what this weather stuff is? Like, oh, well, if you know so much, how was snow made? Like, what is snow? Well, you see, this magical white powdery stuff. And it's like, oh, God. You can see people like, yeah. Even the cute ice sculpture that's like, hey, I'm the one that made the ice sculpture. And then... Chevy just goes crazy and destroys everything because he's gone with anger. And then even that kid's like, I believed in you. And then he gets all angry because he's like, this stuff we call, the Eskimos have like 20 words for snow. But we just call it. And it's like, get with it, buddy. It's like, oh, you're embarrassing. Well, we know, right, Hal? Hal, I'm sitting there thinking of the dad from Tom. I'm thinking of the dad from Malcolm now. Because Hal's the son, not the dad. He's like, well, we know, Tom, that's a meteorologist's secret of how snow is made. I'm like, oh my gosh, this guy is terrible. Everyone's like, you're a phony, you suck. And everyone's like, boo. I was like, good for him. And even like his boss, he was like, good for you.
That was a happy ending for him because then everyone in town knew that he was better. And
then things weren't going well for the little ones versus Snow Plow Man. So she gets her little action figures, and they start doing, like, the cool, don't give up. And I'm like, oh, my gosh, of course. This is around the time period with Kablam. They had the animation with the toys, like, Action League Now. So that was pretty a neat scene. I was enjoying seeing that kind of stop-motion stuff. You can do it. And she uses him because the brother always tell her not to
touch the toys because he wanted to sell them. Even though she, she really connected to him. With not only with the toys, but with her brother. It was like a thing that they used to do together, I would assume. Even though he wasn't there, at least the toys were there for her. Mm-hmm. And they helped her, overcome her problems.
Yep.
By telling her how to do it. Well, movie stuff where they, like, you need to band together, and then cut to her banding together type
And then when you have Hal going after Claire and all that stuff. And eventually, after I told you already, where she's like, she gives him the kiss, and then he has to stop and think, so he goes and follows Claire eventually. It's like, I know where she's at. How'd you know I was here? You can't go a day without, swimming or diving or whatever. And so he's there, and then they're talking, so then eventually she, they kiss. And she's like, what's wrong? Type thing. And he's like, this isn't the reaction I wanted, because it's different than what it was with her type of thing. I'm like, oh, I knew it. Oh! What'd you do after she kissed me? He's like, I went right to here. It's like, oh boy. It's like, not good, my friend. Yeah. But again, it's a nice little scene, and it works. So you have like all that there, and then she's probably thinking, oh, hopefully I'll get someone as good as this guy instead of douchey McDouche face. What a goof, though. Yeah.
So he realized, he likes his friend just as much, and then he goes after her.
And so then he goes at the end run there, and then she's all by herself at the little rink. And then he's like, hey, you, and then falling over and stuff like that, and then talking about the snow angel stuff again, picking her up. And it's a happy little ending for them. They end up with each other, I assume.
So now let's get to the ending of the Snow Plow Man, the infamous Snow Plow Man.
Earlier they had the thing where they were negotiating the trade back for the bird and the kid. And it's like, where's our friend? Give me the bird! And I'm like, holy crap.
I don't care about that.
This is insanity. He is evil. But, like, I love it. I kind of like... Because what was that? Like, he's going through and the kid's like, ah! And it's like the stories and legends of him. Like, boy, I assume he probably would be like, whatever, kid. Crunch. And crap like that. And I'm like, holy cow. And then they do the toss with that and the bird. But then now we're at the ending.
Where He's about to plow the last street.
The very last one's like, this is it, the last street.
And then she's standing in the middle of the road to stop him.
And then it's like, it doesn't matter. I got rid of every other thing. This doesn't even go to the school. So it's like, I win. And then you hear like this. It's like, no, that's not, like the sound of what? Like, what was it? Like something. It's like, that's not whatever. And then it's like all the kids, like all the kids are like, get up. Like, kids who's like, and the kids all tie him up around a pole. Kids all saying, oh, my darling Clementine. I was like, those kids don't know that song. Like, there's no kids that know that song unless they watch Huckleberry Hound.
Right.
So, like, I get you had to because, like, that, but I'm like, I don't know if those kids really would understand the Clementine reference. So that was only my kind of like, it's funny, but would those kids at that age know that, oh my darling, unless they did watch Huckleberry Hound. I liked Huckleberry Hound. Huckleberry Hound was cool.
Oh, yeah.
I liked all those Hanna-Barbera cartoons.
He's like, well, too bad. This is the last street, so I win.
We're going to go re-throw snow all over everything. We're going to push all the snow back everywhere. I'm like, what is that?
How
is that even possible? But again, I like it. And then she's able to and these kids are able to get in there like, all right, let's go. I'm like, what the
just leaving him, so they take the snowplow and the bird with them. And so in the scene where they're at the ice ring, that douchey guy's there. And then
here comes, get you, boy. And then right behind him, and he just ducks out of the way. And then I'm like, holy shit, they're going to kill him. They like run him over, but they just... The plow is like pushing. I'm like, he's gonna get killed. I wasn't expecting this.
Some of these things, I'm like, how do they pull that off?
I was like,
that looks dangerous.
They're killing the guy. I did not see that on my bingo sheet for this movie. I'm like, holy crap! But no, it's just they, magically push him and he's all falling into the snow and he's just stuck basically in the clump of the snow that's been plowed and pushed. What happened?
And then she gets out of the snowplow and then meets up with her brother.
Hey, wow, good job, kid. See, you didn't. She's like, here you go. He's like, no.
He's yours, basically.
It's like, see, it's like, well, then we can still do stuff tomorrow too, though. Since we're having a second snow day. And so that's like, okay, and
so then basically everyone's
he's proud of her for what she did. And everyone's got this happy little ending. Everyone faced their villains, learned their lessons.
And then there's one final joke.
Yep, with the principal there. And I'm like, come on. But it's hilarious. He's like...
Because this whole movie, he was trying to get back home, basically, because everywhere he went,
and he couldn't. And then he gets back, he gets like, in his house, shuts the door, locks it, chains it. And then... No! And I'm like, where the hell were they hiding in his house?
Exactly.
It was stuff like that. We're like, okay, there's a lot of interesting stuff in here. It was funny. It was a fun little movie. And I like the slice of life stuff. I like that, again, it's that quirkiness. It worked in a lot of levels. I really liked all the actors. They did a good job with their characters. I liked all the characters, good and bad. So I liked how they pulled off the snow, like, everywhere. There was snow everywhere, so it's always neat seeing, like, a movie full of snow in, like, a town, and... It worked for a snow day. A lot of stuff kept you entertained for 90 minutes on a snow day.
Well, yeah, and then as you said, the characters are very interesting. Some movies they try to limit the number of characters, but this one had a lot of characters.
A lot of them, and they fleshed them out pretty nicely. I liked Hal, and I liked his quest for Claire, and then his friend, and then I liked how she was, and come on, you're gonna come on, you two, and again, it had all that music from that time period too. So it was that stuff I'm like, those songs have those feel to them, even if it's ones you know of or other ones that aren't, but they still that sound from like the 90s, the early 2000s, and it was pretty. It just all worked.
And then what was good about the music? I mean, they had even ending songs, and then one of them was actually sung by one of the actresses. That was really cool.
The one that was his girl pal, his gal pal there, and her name was Schuler Fisk. What a name! But I mean. So I was like, that was interesting. Because I was like, when I was watching the credits go and hearing the song, and I was looking at the credits, I'm like, hey, it says her name there. I'm like, wait a minute, I had to look back. I'm like, that's her. Weird. And then the other song they had, that is a song that was a popular song for some artist. I can't remember her name. But Another Dumb Blonde was the song. I'm like, oh, I remember that song. And they were playing that during that time period. And then she went on to do one for, the hell's the one? Legally Blonde. So it was overall just really good. I thought, well written, well acted, well shot. Like, it had that kind of like Tim Burton-ish whimsical film. The music even at times felt like Tim Burton-y. And by that I mean Danny Elfman. It wasn't, but it had that feel, and all of it just kind of quirkiness, whimsicalness, the magic of a snow day, and I thought it just really worked. And I'm like, boy, I'm surprised I didn't watch that back then. I probably would have liked it back then. So it took me 22 years. It was just on, Amazon. I'm like, hey, you know what? I'm gonna finally watch this. It's winter. I'm gonna finally put this on and just watch it because I'm in those moods for those things. And I liked it.
When I started getting into Nickelodeon, I'm like, well, this stuff is really good. And then, this, as he said before, I mean, it's just like Pete and Pete. And so if you like Pete and Pete, you're definitely gonna like.
I love
this
that
movie.
stuff with the narration too. And so it all just works. It was very well done.
So I highly recommend the movie if you've never checked it out before.
Yeah, it's pretty good for a nice, can't believe, jeez, that long ago too. Wow. But yeah, again, thanks for watching. Let us know. We got some stuff there. We got Elsa's and Olaf's and Snowmen. Oh my, and all that. And thanks for watching. Anything from you guys over there?
Yeah, please let us know if you've ever had any fun adventures on a snow day. We'd love to see in the comments.
Yeah, that'd be an idea. Did anyone else have experiences on a snow day? Because anything could happen. Nothing's happening.
Maybe it's not cold enough in here yet.
Maybe anything can happen for you guys on a snow day. Take care. Stay gnarly. Like and subscribe.
With that notification bell. Ring, ring.
We're done.
Find the hooligans who egged my
Claire,
house
I'm
and
begging
toilet
you.
papered my wife.
Sorry, Chuck, I can't hear you.
Stay with us.